public transport at a standstill, slogans shouted through megaphones, a sea of flags floating in the air, and the bitter smells of tear gas and smoke. Since mid-January, French people have been striking against a controversial pension reform. Its main goal is to raise the retirement age from 62 to 64 by 2030. On the 16th of March, the French government pushed through the bill by triggering the infamous Article 49.3, and the anger in the streets flared up again.
We're in Lyon in a protest march that includes trade unions, every professional body and many individuals. Everyone has gathered here to protest against Macron's pension reform. And we're here to see why the French are so good at protesting.
But first, let's take a look at the strike culture in France. Of course, when one thinks of French protests, the images of the storming of the Bastille in 1789, May 68, or more recently the Yellow Vest movement pop to mind. Yet, over the last 20 years, there has always been a European country with more strike days than France. According to the European Trade Union Institute, between 2010 and 2019, Cyprus broke the record with 2,075 strike days. However, these countries do not necessarily hit the pavement on strike days. So, how do the French strike? Protests against the pension reform have taken place regularly to gather more and more support. This year, since the beginning of the movement on the 19th of January, 10 national days of strike have been held in France. Strike days have taken place on Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays, during which schools, public transport and post offices have come to a standstill. On the 6th day of action, on the 7th of March, 1.28 million people took to the streets according to the police, and 3.5 million according to the CGT, one of France's major unions. This was the biggest day on record at the moment. But to attend the marches, demonstrators lose a working day's pay. The unions can limit the loss of wages financially through strike funds, which are funded by donations. Some links to crowdfunding platforms have been set up, or people contribute to the National Trade Union Action Fund, la Caisse Nationale d'Action Syndicale, by renewing their membership fees, for instance. It has existed since 1973 and is worth around 141 million euros, according to France Info.
However, it's not enough to compensate strikers for lost wages.
During the march, the crowd shouts various chants and slogans, sometimes to popular tunes, sometimes with a special rhythm. And most of the times, these songs are supported by music, either played by a brass band or by a sound truck. Finally, people carry signs and placards with demands, sometimes humorous, to make their claims loud and clear. But you also have to protect yourself because clashes with the police are common during the march.
En cas de charge policière, comment vous êtes équipés?
Even if most people want a peaceful demonstration, some might damage public property, such as smashing bank windows, spraying graffiti tags on city walls, or setting rubbish bins on fire or knocking them over the pavement. A demonstration lasts until the end of the route, after the unions announce the number of participants in the march. Later on, news outlets announce the union's figures, then those of the police, and they are rarely the same. And to disperse the crowd at the end of the march, or at least what is left of it, the police are ordered to evacuate the area, often using tear gas or rocket-propelled grenades. Despite the law being rammed through using Article 49.3 and a failed no-confidence vote, many people are still demonstrating in the streets. We asked them why.
Nous, on est retraités et on soutient tous les travailleurs qui vont avoir besoin de la retraite comme nous.
C'est une loi tout simplement qui n'est pas égalitaire, qui a des conséquences et sur de nombreuses personnes. En fait, c'est juste pas OK, ne serait-ce que pour les questions des femmes, pour les personnes qui travaillent depuis très jeunes, pour les personnes qui ont des métiers qui sont très complexes, très fatigants. Et au-delà de ça, là aujourd'hui, il faut y être d'autant plus parce qu'il y a eu le 49.3 qui est passé et que c'est une absurdité, cette loi tout simplement qui autorise qu'on passe outre le Parlement.
Parce que chaque année, il y a 215 camarades qui meurent au travail. Et ça, c'est pas possible. Notre travail, on est là pour gagner notre vie, pas pour la perdre. L'autre chose, c'est qu'un ouvrier du bâtiment, en moyenne, il profite d'un an de sa retraite. Macron, en voulant repousser l'âge de la retraite de 2 ans, il veut nous faire cotiser une retraite qu'on ne verra pas parce qu'on sera mort au travail avant.
On a des salaires moindres. Moi, j'ai commencé à 20 ans. En finale, à 56, j'ai mes trimestres. Et au final, il va quand même falloir que je travaille jusqu'à 64 ans. Je leur fais cadeau de 32 trimestres. Et je trouve ça honteux.
Parce que je veux une société où on soit tous, on vive bien. Et là, on est en train de faire que les gens ils survivent et ils se bouffent les uns les autres pour survivre. Et ça, c'est pas une société que je veux.
That's it, that's the end of the demonstration. The unions have announced that 55,000 people have been marching this Thursday here in Lyon, and a total of 1 million across France. New strike calls have been announced, despite the forced passage of the pension reform. Follow Euronews for the latest updates.